At that time, being a journalist was being something important. It was a badge of honor. We studied and we learned the canons of journalism. We believed in them.
I became hooked after the first story. I became hooked on the process, and I fell in love with what journalism can do, with the storytelling that it can provide, and the difference that it can make in the communities in which the newspapers serve. I fell in love. For the past 2 decades, that's all I've done. I've worked at newspapers in Texas, in Virginia, Mississippi, Louisiana, a little bit in England, and I've been here in Montgomery for 9 years. And if there's anything I got from the University Star, one is it was the experience, and two, it was the friendships and relationships that I made while there. And I don't think I've worked with anyone harder and more dedicated than those I worked with at the University Star. And if it wasn't for the newspaper there, and the time and the experience and the administration who oversaw us and kind of guided us in the process, I certainly would not be where I am today. I owe all my success, all my knowledge, all my craft to my time there.
Every job that I've had has harked back to my degree and what I learned at the University Star and what I learned in college. And it really was, I know that a lot of people work for the school paper, and it's a kind of blow-off thing where it's like, all right, yeah, I work for the paper, but there's a few people that when they work at the school paper, they jump in with both feet and they use it for its intention, which is learning how to better become an employee, learning how to better interact with people, and learning your trade. And so that's what I did when I was there. And it's the impact on my life is well, on my career, the impact is that everything that I've done has harked back to the skills, the writing, the learning, the deadlines, and the coming up with outside the box ideas that a public would be interested in. Everything that I've learned has harked back to that, and many of the people that I've met because of working at the University Star are still good friends today, and they are, more importantly, good connections in the business world.
The time that I spent writing there, it was like, it got me so many other opportunities. And those opportunities, it was like a giant snowball. I was unstoppable. I started working there, I did a few things there, and then I'd go do an internship, and then I was in another internship, and I was getting scholarships. It was just amazing, and it was all due to the fact that I worked there and gotten the experience there. It was amazing. I didn't know it could be that good. You know, I have so many other friends who didn't have the stellar experience that I had at the same school, but because I was in this fantastic position where I could, you know, do what I wanted to do in my life, but while I was at school and surrounded by people who knew more about it than I did, and yeah, doing all that experimenting, like it was just, it led to so many amazing things and opportunities.
I had grown up in the shadow of Old Main with stories of Lyndon Johnson and all of those who came before us. So the magic of that castle-like building and the excitement of a career in journalism at the time was amazing.
Yes, the Porterfields are a long line of distinguished writers. My father-in-law, Billy, was a writer at the University Star when he came to Texas State. And then he worked at many newspapers across the nation and wrote books, and ended up at the Austin American-Statesman writing a column that was very beloved. And then I was at the Star also writing and taking pictures. And then my husband is a journalist also. He never worked at the Star, but that's where we met, was at the San Marcos Daily Record. And then Carly, our daughter, has followed in our footsteps, and now she is an editor and has been a reporter at the Star. So the Star is a very important part of the Porterfield family legacy.
Back then I was pretty into the ideal of journalism. I very much believed in this, doing the good work, and I guess I'm a little more ambiguous about that today. To me, it's more sort of like a job that lets you sleep at night. If you go in and you do it well and you show both sides, then you did a good deed that day, and you can feel okay about what you did. Yeah, back then I was far more zealous. I had this idea that I was doing something, with some sort of calling or some sort of really, really. I don't want to downplay how I think of it now. Like, I don't want to say it's not important, but when I started with the Star, I was very zealous. I very much felt like it was this big important thing that I was doing every single day. I've mellowed on that a little, but I still do think it's an important thing, and I still do think that when you do it right, when you come in and you take it seriously and you show both sides, that you're at least doing a job that you can be happy about and something that you can feel good about having done.
I was able to, I think, take on stories and roles that I think anywhere else maybe would have been more difficult because of the nature of the university and the newspaper itself. I mean, it's a small staff, but we kind of had a lot of freedom to take on what we wanted. We were able to get press credentials for a lot of things that in hindsight I'm like, how did we do that? I think it took a lot to just sort of the people I was working with and sort of the goals we had set for ourselves. And I was really fortunate to work with a lot of really amazing people. It's kind of crazy, some of the people that I was either a reporter or editor with have gone on to do some really amazing things in their careers as well. So, I think I just kind of landed a really cool time too at the Star.
At the University Star, some of my fondest memories at college were there in the newsroom. We were in Old Main at that time, laughing and talking behind people's backs and writing stories and learning skills that now I think have made me into a better person, personally and professionally. I served a couple of terms on the San Marcos City Council, and I look back to my interview skills that I learned at the University Star, and that's how I approached issues that came up at City Council: who, what, where, when, why, and follow the money, and go directly to the source for information. And so, my memories and my experience at the Star made me who I am today, and I just really hope the Star continued success for another 100 years.
So, I used to co-author a column called Biff and the Bean, and this was a humor column that we wrote for about 3 years. And it was myself and John Rubio, and I was Biff because that was my childhood nickname, and John was the Bean because that was his childhood nickname. We kind of tap danced on decency and sometimes fell over the line. We kind of started Biff and the Bean as a ruse to get free beer. We did a beer review, and so we went into the tap room and said, "Hey, we're journalists and we're doing a beer review. We need to try at least 6 of your of your beers," and they bought it, and we wrote it as we got inebriated. And so it was, I wish I could find that article because it was the funniest article that I think that we've ever written, because we literally wrote it as we got drunk, and we didn't change a word. And so when we turned that in, the Galaxy editor at the time, David Gorin, said, "All right, can you do another one next week?" Okay. And so Biff and the Bean was born, and we ended up doing it for 3 years. One of our friends, she was the news reporter. She was actually the news editor of the paper. So the well-respected news editor of the school paper that knew all the bigwigs in town. And the mayor at the time walked by, said, "Hey, Karen, how you doing?" And shook her hand, and we introduced ourselves, and he looks over at us and goes, "You better watch out for these two. These two are crazy. You need to come over and sit over here." And just like Biff and the Bean, oh my God, wandered off as to not wanting to be seen with us. So,